NFL draft is right around the corner. I'll show you which Utah State players made an impression on scouts during Pro Day. The women's senior try to go out on top, but I'll show you the crazy freshmen who try to spoil their plans. The USU men's basketball team lost 14 games this year. Now that the season's over, I'll show you what else they're losing. And in sports, the men's basketball team takes on an SEC powerhouse, and I'll show you what the football team did for the first time in 10 years. Bobby Wagner made a name for himself here at Romney Stadium, finishing his career in the Aggie blue and fighting white with 443 tackles and 4 interceptions. Now he plays at CenturyLink Field, where he is one of the captains and vocal leaders of the fiercest defense in the NFL. In a couple hours, Utah State and Boise State will kick off for the first time since 2010, where the Broncos beat the Aggies 50-14. USU star quarterback Chucky Keeton is done for the season, which means the Craig Harrison era officially begins tonight. 2010, BYU is back in Logan to face Utah State. After the Aggies dropped the last 2 meetings against their in-state rival, they were hoping the home field would help them get their victory. Lee Kubik was on the sideline to bring you the big plays. Utah State announced Saturday that Chucky tore his ACL and MCL on his left knee, ending his season. He will undergo surgery this week and is expected to be out for 8 months. USU will try to move on without Keaton Saturday when they take on Boise State. The women's soccer team is back to their winning ways after a 5-game stretch where they lost 4 games, including 3 in a row, and tied the other. The losing streak came to an end against UNLV, and the Aggies look to make it 2 consecutive wins on Sunday when they hosted Wyoming. We pick up the action in the second half with the score tied at 0. Aggies forward Jennifer Flynn takes on the entire Wyoming defense and dribbles it all the way in for the goal in the 51st minute. Wyoming didn't have many scoring opportunities, but this shot by Sarah Paul forced Jeannie Roller into a great save. Flynn, she was all over the place in the second half and almost scored another goal with this rocket of a shot, but the Cowgirls keeper comes up with a brilliant save. USU goes on to win 1-0, and players are glad to be back on the winning track.
When we lost against Arkansas 3-2, that was just a heartbreak, and we lost a lot of confidence, and we're finally getting that back, and so we're building the team back up with that.
The Aggies will try to make it 3 in a row on Friday when they take on former WAC rival Fresno State on the road. USU volleyball is sitting in 5th place in the Mountain West, and we're looking to climb up the standings and notch their 4th win in conference play when they hosted the University of New Mexico on Thursday. Fans made their way out of the cold and into the Spectrum to cheer on the Aggies. It was a close first set, with New Mexico edging out USU 25-20. The Lobos jumped out to an early 8-3 lead in the second set, and the closest the Aggies would get is 14-18. New Mexico would win the set 25-15. In the third set, USU showed some fight, taking a 4-point lead, but the Lobos would respond. With the set tied at 11, New Mexico went on a run and put the game out of reach, winning it 25-18 and sweeping the Aggies. After the game, players and coaches were disappointed with the loss.
It was a rough night for us. Just wasn't our night. We weren't really clicking. We didn't have enough passion. We weren't playing like we usually play.
It's kind of us now, you know. It's incumbent upon us to be a little bit better, hit the ball smarter, and we started out okay, and then that went away real fast, so that's kind of a drag.
The team is back on the road when they take on 13th ranked Colorado State on Thursday and then Wyoming on Saturday. Also worth mentioning, USU Golf came in 2nd place in the University of Utah Invitational, and no makeup dates have been announced for the soccer and volleyball games that were canceled over the weekend against Air Force due to the government shutdown. All right, you're now caught up on everything Aggie sports, but stick around because there's more ATV news coming up. It was a tough loss against the 7th-ranked team in the nation, and things don't get easier for the Aggies as they host the University of New Mexico, who sit in 2nd place in the Mountain West and are led by Cameron Barstow, who averages 20 points per game and 7 rebounds. USU will look to end their 3-game slide on Tuesday against the Lobos. In the Battle of the Brothers, Utah State leads Utah at the break. Chucky Keeton threw a late touchdown pass to Brandon Swindle with about 30 seconds left to give the Aggies a 17-14 lead going into halftime. Let's see what Utah State can do in the second half.
Jason Borba is here with more.
Yeah, Brad, the women also came in as the 8th seed and one of the hottest teams in the Mountain West, winning 4 of their last 5 games. And with an ace up their sleeve such as Jennifer Schlott, the Aggies were all in the first round against New Mexico. College athletes also argue, since their likeness is used in video games such as this one, that they should receive some kind of compensation, which has led the NCAA to end their agreement with EA Sports and thus killing the football video game franchise. The Hawaii Warriors didn't get into Logan until about 4 a.m. because of the shootings that happened at Los Angeles Airport. We'll see how a 2 p.m. kickoff time will affect them against the Utah State Aggies. It seemed as though the late arrival hurt Hawaii, as USU's Daryl Garrettson finds Bruce Natson for the touchdown on the Aggies' first drive. That was just the beginning for Garrettson, as he would have a huge day throwing the ball, finishing with a freshman record 370 passing yards.
We have a freshman who come in here and put on his big boy pants.
Garrettson threw 2 more touchdowns, this one to Travis Reynolds.
Touchdown, Aggies!
And this one to roommate Wyatt Houston.
That's what we want out of him. We want him to play a little bit better each and every week, and I thought he was very, very efficient.
Getting the ball to the wide receivers, and really they just made the plays, and all I was doing was facilitating.
Garrettson wasn't the only one with a monster game. The defense racked up not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions, including this one by Kyler Fackrell, who takes it to the house as USU rolls 47-10.
And anytime you can score a defensive touchdown, that's huge, and just happy for Kyler and the whole defense on that deal.
With the win, Utah State improves to 5-4 on the season and are 1 game away from clinching their 3rd consecutive bowl game. From Romney Stadium, Jason Borba, ATV Sports. As for the game itself, it was a barn burner through the first half. Schlott is going to pickpocket Classy James, and yes, that really is her name. Schlott is a scorer, but she's also a giver, finding Elise Nelson for the and 1. You want more Schlott? Well, I'll give you more Schlott. You think she's going in for the layup? Nope, pull-up jumper in your face. Boom goes the dynamite. The Aggies, well, they're feeling good, up 11, but San Jose freshman Britta Hall wasn't going to stand for it as she single-handedly takes over the Spartan offense. Here, she's going to drive to the hoop for the deuce, and she can even hit the layup while getting fouled. If it's the 3-ball you like, well, she can do that too, and she can shoot from a different time zone. The girl's got freakish range. With 2 minutes left in the half and the game tied at 40, USU says no more to Britta Hall and takes an 11-1 run to take a 10-point lead into the break. The Aggies, well, they picked up right where they left off in the second half, and they continue to gore the Spartans. And Schlott, she's going to put up another shot and make another shot. No surprise there. And then Jasmine Porter is going to launch. Sorry about that. I don't think I'm allowed to show you the rest of the highlights. It became a very one-sided affair as USU was resilient on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. The Aggies stampeded to a 96-67 victory, and Schlott put up video game numbers with 34 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals just for the heck of it. And now I'm joined by Bradley Wells to talk a little bit more about Jennifer Schlott.
Yeah, she's had a really amazing season so far for USU. She's broken the school record for points in a season, which was set by Devin Christensen last year.
Yeah, I actually saw Devin Christensen break that record. But Schlott is a whole different beast. She scores a lot more efficiently, less shots, more points. Yeah. I actually brought in my bracket, and green is good, pink is not so good. And if yours looks anything like this, you probably pulled out your hair these last couple weeks just like I did. So let's just take a look at the results from the Elite Eight. 8th seed Kentucky had played in 2 of the most exciting games of the tournament, and that continued against Louisville as the Wildcats upset the Cardinals 74-69. Connecticut continued their magical run in this tournament, beating championship favorite Michigan State. The Swords of the Spartans were no match for the Fangs of the Huskies as UConn won 60-54. The clock finally struck midnight for Cinderella as the Dayton Flyers proved their foot didn't fit the glass slipper, losing to overall #1 seed Florida 62-52. The only 1-2 matchup of the Elite Eight proved to be the closest of the 4 as Wisconsin escaped a shot at the buzzer by Arizona to punch their ticket to Arlington 64-63. All right, guys, the Final Four is set. I know you have been kind of paying attention because you have Wisconsin.
I do. My chances are looking pretty good now, right?
How about you, David?
I don't follow the sports so much.
You know what? That's a good thing. I think they're going to struggle in the Mountain West, especially the first few years. We haven't had the best 2 seasons lately. Granted, we have had injuries, but the Mountain West is big time. They got San Diego State. They have New Mexico. They have Colorado State. BSU is on the rise, and they're horrible at basketball. I don't think so. Thanks, Chucky Keene, for joining us on ATV Sports.
It's no problem. It's great to be here.
How do you think the season has played out so far for Utah State?
So far, it's definitely been it's been a journey. We lost our first game, of course, and we've had a couple of heartbreaking losses, and but at the same time, this team's been able to bounce back, and we've put ourselves in position to make it to a 3rd straight bowl game, which is an incredible feat, especially for the history that we've had at Utah State. We've done well. We do have the 1 loss to Boise State, which is still kind of going to haunt us a little bit. Even though we wanted perfection and we still look for perfection, I'd say we've been doing a pretty good job so far.
There was a lot of hype coming into the season surrounding you with the Chucky for Heisman campaign the school was putting on. How did you feel to be part of that?
First of all, it's an honor to just represent the school, especially for such a prestigious award like the Heisman. And I'm definitely excited, or I was excited whenever I was still playing about it. But at the same time, it's not just me. Yeah, it's my name on it, but I can't do it without the guys around me.
Against BYU, you got hurt. Did you know it was going to be season-ending when it happened? What was going through your mind?
I knew it was a different type of pain. Never experienced it before. And generally, I'd like to say I'm decent with pain, but this was definitely something different. I just knew it hurt, and that was about it. It was definitely something I'm not going to forget.
How do you think the team has done stepping up in your absence, especially Daryl Garrettson?
Daryl's definitely been producing. There's a lot of pride that I have in him and what he's been doing, and with this team, kind of treats him like as their kid as well, just because they know he's stepping into a big role, and he's a key piece to the offense, not just the offense, but the entire team.
Will you be the Week 1 starter next season against Tennessee?
It's so far down the road, though, I can't really even say that. I gotta worry about walking normally first, and then hopefully getting back to running. So, crawl before you walk, walk before you run.
Let's kick things off on the football field, where Utah State hosted the Colorado State Rams Saturday afternoon. This was the first game for USU after becoming bowl eligible against UNLV 2 weeks ago. Rams running back Capri Bibbs entered the game having rushed for over 200 yards in the last 3 games, and the Aggies were hoping to end that streak. The game would be a defensive battle, with the Aggies getting an interception by Zach Vigil on the Rams' first possession. Nick Diaz would get this 24-yard field goal for the first points in the game with only 26 seconds left in the first half. The Aggies would score again in the 3rd quarter on this 1-yard run by Joey DiMartino. USU would get 1 more field goal after Nick Vigil intercepted this Rams pass in the closing minutes of the 4th quarter. The Aggies would win 13-0, shutting out an opponent for the first time in 10 years. Utah State Gymnastics already knew they were headed to the NCAA Regional Tournament, but on Monday they found out who their opponents would be and where exactly they would be competing.
Joining Utah and UCLA in the regional.
That was the reaction of the team when they found out they would be the 5th seed in the regional tournament. The Aggies are headed to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and will be joined by Utah, UCLA, Arkansas, Arizona State, and UC Davis. This is the first time USU has qualified as a team since 2007, and they say they're ready to tumble and roll.
Going in number 5, it's cool to see our name, like Utah State, like in regionals. Like it's just a cool feeling. I'm really excited.
The top 2 teams from each region will advance to the 2014 NCAA Gymnastics National Championships beginning April 18th.
Student section's unreal. Gives us such a home court advantage and brings a lot of energy to the spectrum.
The crowd is awesome. I love hitting a shot or making a play, and the crowd, you hear the crowd scream, and you just know that the other team it hears that too, and they get a little bit scared and a little bit down on themselves, because that's how I know I'd be if I was playing here.
Playing on the road is hard. If we hitting a lot of shots, the other team, you know, they're gonna hear the fan base and they're gonna get a little bit down, and gives us an edge over the other team.
Coaches can't yell at their players. And so, like, offensive schemes get mixed up or defensive schemes get mixed up. Someone calls to, grab a guy on defense on a fast break, and it doesn't work because you can't hear anything.
Utah State, hey, A's all the way! Go A's, hey, hey, hey!
There's nothing like hitting a big 3 and the crowd's going crazy. the ground's shaking and you get a feeling that comes over you. There's just nothing like that feeling.
The student section is something else. It's kind of hard to describe when you have 40%, almost half of your stadium is students, and they're all going nuts.
It means a lot to us. It amps us up before the games. Obviously coming out to an arena filled with fans is obviously going to help us out a lot and intimidate the other team.
Intelligent fan base that knows what's going on. I mean, there's plenty of places that we've played at where they've had a good amount of student sections that are just out there screaming, don't really know what's going on, just yelling. And I think our student section does a great job of knowing what's going on, knowing what cheers to do, and I feel like that really helps us and really does a good job of that.
We are able to do it for 40 minutes, whether we're up 20, down 20, it doesn't matter. Our team's there. You know, students are getting there early, they're staying late, making sure that we know that this is our home court, win or lose, like this is our home court, and you do not come away with an easy win ever.
It all started with Wild Bill. Me and him were pretty good friends, and we hung out at his house a lot, and we'd usually play a lot of games. So we used to play this game called Signs, and it's kind of everybody has their own sign. You kind of pass it around the room, and the person in the middle tries to figure out who has it. And my sign was always just like this. So then it just translated, and then Bill, and then started going threes, and that's just how it's translated over time. So that's always a fun thing to see, because I know where it comes from, but I don't know if everybody knows that.
I believe that we will win. That gets you pretty pumped up before the game, and you know, they're always on cue and really synchronized with it, so I really like that one.
Favorite cheer is a winning team, losing team. You know, obviously it's big if you win the game, and having the fans right behind you cheering us on, and it helps us out a lot.
I always like the winning team, losing team, because you know when you hear that cheer that the game's over, that you've won, so that's always a great feeling. But obviously they have a bunch of great ones, but I think that one might be my favorite.
So I just encourage all the students to come out and help us out and help us win.
Obviously having a lot of fans here is going to help us win some more games, so come out and enjoy the show.
I would have to say San Diego State. I just got a good vibe there. It was pretty nice. The crowd was into it.
Just being with them every day. I mean, it's kind of bittersweet seeing them every day because you're seeing the same people, but at the same time, there's no one else I'd rather be with on the team.
There's a lot of difference between junior college and Division I, especially here, Utah State. I'd say the practices are the biggest difference. Just the intensity of practices and the demand that coach wants out of you day in and day out.
The future holds, well, my brother played overseas, so he still has his agent, so I've been talking to him a little bit. So, you know, I might go overseas and play, or I could go back home, you know, and get a good job and graduate in May.
I'll be graduating in May, and then hopefully pursuing my dream to either play in the NBA or overseas.
My advice would just be to live in the moment and get to know as many people as you can outside of basketball, and make friends that are in the community, that are from here, that are from Utah, because they can help you out a lot, and they know how to have fun, and it's great to spend time with guys on the basketball team, as I said before, but sometimes it's nice too to hang out with people who aren't athletes and just kind of feel like a regular college kid.
It was a busy Saturday for the USU men's tennis team as they hosted a doubleheader at the Sports Academy. First to hit the court was Weber State, and then they took on Colorado Mesa. The Weber matches, well, they had a little bit of controversy. Halfway through the #1 singles match, Jacob Gewert called USU Dennis Baumgartner's shot out. Taking a closer look, you can see clearly that the ball lands in bounds. With no line judge, the call stood. Gewert was just too much for the freshman as he won the match 6-4, 5-7, 6-1. In the end, Baumgartner's loss didn't matter as his teammates picked up the slack and USU served their way to a 5-2 win over their in-state rivals.